Hello, grade 11's accounting student. We are continuing with our preparation for June exam. In this topic, we are going to be talking about creditors reconciliation statement. So let me share the question paper. I want the question paper. Let me share. Yes, we have the question paper. This is the question of June 2023, paper 2, routing accounting. We will be dealing with creditors reconciliation statement, CRS, creditor reconciliation statement. So what is this creditor reconciliation statement? Creditors reconciliation statement, this is a process whereby we compare the records of the business. I'm going to write the records of the business here. We compare the records of the business with the records of the supplier. We compare the records of the business with the records of the supplier. The records of the business, in this case, I'm referring to the creditors ledger. So we're going to compare creditors ledger with the statement of account. Allows it? Sure. Okay. So we compare the creditors ledger with the statement of account. Remember, guys, that creditors ledger, it is prepared by the business. Creditors ledger, it's prepared by the business. The statement of account is the account which supplier sent to us. So creditors reconciliation statement is a process where we compare the creditors ledger with the statement of account. Now, okay, I want to give you a bigger picture of what is happening. Let us look a bit on this creditors ledger. Okay, and then also I want to focus on the credit side. Let me go down a bit. There is something that I want to show you guys. Just bear with me. 38550 2000. Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Okay, guys. Let us look at invoice 338, which is on the creditors ledger. Invoice 338. Okay. Remember, who prepares the creditors ledger? It is our business. The business prepares creditors ledger. And what is this creditors ledger? Creditors ledger gives us the information of how much we owe to the supplier. So this creditors ledger, it is actually what we call a liability account. It tells us how much we owe to the supplier. So every time when we buy on credit from the supplier, we have to record that in the creditors ledger. For example, on the 6th, we bought goods on credit. How much? The goods that were 3,850 were bought on the credit on the 6th. That was recorded in creditors ledger. So the same transaction must also be recorded in the statement of account. 3,850. It is there. It is on the debit side. So this implies that there is no mistake which have been made regarding 3,850. Both parties recorded it accurately. We did record 3,850 as a business. Remember, as a business, we record in the creditors ledger. Okay, because creditors ledger will tell us how much we owe to the supplier. Every time when we buy on credit, we need to record on the credit side. Remember, liabilities increase on the credit side. Now, from the supplier's point of view, this is an asset account. This statement, is an asset to the supplier because it tells the supplier how much we owe to them. Okay, remember we are owing the supplier. We are buying goods on credit from the supplier. So on the statement, the supplier records on the debit side because the supplier sees us as a debtor. So if you look carefully of what is happening here, what is on the credit side of creditors ledger must also be found on the debit side of the statement of account. And what is on the debit side of creditors ledger must also be found on the credit side of the statement of account. So we are going to compare these two, the creditors ledger and the statement of account, with the main aim of identifying differences and correct those differences. So let me do this. I'm going to erase everything and then start comparing. Remember, I told you that creditors reconciliation statement start by comparing the creditors ledger with the statement of account. So I'm going to compare the credit side of creditors ledger with the debit side of the statement. So I see 2,000 on the creditors ledger. It cancels this one on the debit. I see 3,850. It cancels this 3,850. I'm comparing the credit side of creditors ledger. This is creditors ledger here, guys. I'm comparing it with the statement which we have received from the supplier. So 5,720 or 5,200, I don't see it. So I'm going to circle it. I don't see it on the debit side of the statement. I'm circling. 4,400, I don't see it on the debit side of the statement. I'm circling it. 4,500, I don't see it. I mean 405, I don't see it. Even 600, I don't see it. Okay, and if you check now 5,720, it is also not there in the credit side of creditors ledger. 2,310 is not there. We circle. 10,001 is not there. Okay, so you are comparing the credit side of creditors ledger with the debit side of the statement. So you cancel out the amount which appear in creditors ledger and also in the statement. Now I'm going to compare the debit side of creditors ledger with the credit side. 3,630, cancel 3,630. 330 is not there in the statement. I'm going to circle it. 1,870 is not there. I'm going to circle it. 297 is not there. I'm going to circle it. 350, it is there. 2,420, it is there. 242 is not there. I'm going to circle it. 4,050, I'm going to circle it. Even this 363 in this need to be circled. Even 270, even 121. Okay, so you circle those entries. It means they imply that there might be a mistake. And this is what we want to do. We want to rectify those mistakes. So now from here, you read your information. After comparing, you now start reading the information. So we read information C. The information C says the entry on 3 April 2023 in the account of Rose Traders. The entry on the 3 April 2023 in the account of Rose Traders in the creditors ledger. So they are saying if we go to the creditors ledger, there is an entry on the 3 April 2023 is incorrect. Okay, they are saying the entry is incorrect. Okay, let me read this transaction very well. The entry on 3 April 2023 in the account of Rose Trader in creditors ledger is incorrect. Okay, so they are telling us about the entry in the creditors ledger. So we are going to go to the creditors ledger. We're going to look at the entry which occurred on the 3 April 2023. They are saying that entry is incorrect. The amount was received from a debtor, Palm Tree. So let us go to the creditors ledger because they are saying there is an entry on the 3 April 2023 which is incorrect. Okay, so they are talking about this entry on the 3, which is in the creditors ledger. This entry is on the credit side, 600. They are saying this entry is incorrect. They're saying this 600 actually is for the amount which we have received as a business from a debtor. So the debtor was paying our business. So we received 600 from a debtor. So there is no way this amount will be recorded in the creditors ledger because we are receiving the amount from a debtor Palm Tree who was owing us. So there is no way, and this 600 is actually recorded on the credit side. This makes the mistakes worse because when you record on the credit side of a creditor's ledger, you are increasing the liability account. You are saying, I'm going to owe more. So what is what? Okay, if we even go back to the transaction, the name of our business, guys, is Sunray Nursery. It's very important to read the information. So the name of our business is Sunray Nursery, which buys on credit from a supplier with the name of Rose Traders. Okay, so the only time where we will credit in the creditors ledger, it's when we buy on credit from the Rose Traders. It means that we increase what we owe to the Rose Traders. So this entry, it's incorrect. This 600, we are going to take it out from the creditors ledger. So the mistake occurred in the creditors ledger. I have to rectify this mistake in the creditors ledger. Actually, it is the business that made the mistake, not the supplier. So I'm going to go to the creditors ledger. I want to pull out this 600, which entered by mistake. So I'm going to go to, yes, to my creditors ledger. In the creditors ledger, they had placed 600 on the credit side by mistake. So I'm going to record. Let me do this. I'm going to record 600 on the debit side to take out that credit entry which entered in creditors ledger by mistake. It was credit entry. We take it out by putting in the debit entry. So I will say the receipt incorrectly recorded. Incorrect entry. Okay. Or this was uh, incorrect credit. We are rectifying incorrect credit. So we put in the debit entry of 600 in the creditors ledger. Let's go back and read the question again. The next question says, Miss Flower has an arrangement with Rose Trader. Remember, Miss Flower is the owner of the business. Which owner of the business? Sunray Nursery. Remember, we are dealing with the Sunray Nursery. This is the business, and the supplier is a Rose Trader. So the owner has an arrangement with Rose Trader. Don't forget who is Rose Trader. Rose Trader is the supplier. We buy goods on credit from this guy, from Rose Traders. And Miss Flower has an arrangement with Rose Trader that a 10% discount will be received on each payment made. Okay, so our business, Sunray Nursery, made an agreement with the supplier that there will always be a 10% discount on the payment. So let's check. Let us go to the, they are saying see entry 10 and 24. Let's go to the creditors ledgers first. I want to see the entry 10 and 24 on creditors ledger. So when we come to this creditors ledger, on the 10th, they said see 10th and 24. On the 10th, we see a discount of how much? Of 330. There is a discount of 330. And there is also a discount of 242 onto 24. Okay. And this entry is absolutely correct. This entry is absolutely correct. So let me go and check what is happening in the statement regarding the entry of the 10th and the 24. On the 10th, the supplier shows that we paid. There is a payment which has been received, and this amount is credited with 3,630. This is the payment received. Now they are saying a discount allowed is 363. So let's compare these two and check. I just want to compare the entries of the 10th. Yes, 3,630. Discount is 330, 36. Okay, 3,630, 3,630, 363. You can see that there is a difference of the discount. Here, the discount of the 10th is 330. Here, the discount they are saying is 363. So we wonder who made a mistake. Okay, we wonder who made a mistake. So let us calculate the correct discount. I'm going to say 3,630, which is the amount which the business was paying, and multiplied by 10 divided by 100. It must be 363. If you say 3,630 and you calculate the 10%, remember the discount is 10%, and you calculate the 10%, you get 363. So the correct discount must be 363, which is recorded correctly in the statement. So the mistake was made on the ledger account. They wrote 330 as a discount of 330 instead of writing a discount of 363. So I'm going to say 363 minus 330 is 33. So there is a missing amount of 33 rent. We recorded in creditors ledger, we recorded 330. There is a missing of 33 because the correct amount must be 363. So I'm going to go to the creditors ledger, update it and say there is a shortage of 33, which is a discount. Okay. So let me go to creditors ledger and say, yes, discount under cost. They recorded less of how much? Of 33 rand. The question is, on which side is the discount? A discount must decrease the amount we owe to the supplier. So I'm going to put it on the debit side. It cannot increase the liability account. The discount must decrease the liability account. A discount of 33 rand. Okay. And then let's check the entry of the 24. 24, the discount is 121 in the statement. Let us check in the creditors ledger. Is 242. Okay, it's 242. On the 24, when we made a payment, remember, we agreed that every time when we make a payment, there must be a discount of 10%. So we made a payment to the supplier of how much? Of 2,420, and the discount appears to be 242 in the creditors ledger. So let us go to the statement on the 24. On the 24, it shows that the statement shows that we paid 2,420, but shows the discount of 121. And the correct discount, guys, is 242 because you have to take 2,420, multiply it by 10%, because we said is the 10% of the payment. So which is 242. So they recorded 121 by mistake. The correct discount should be 242. So in this case is the supplier who made the mistake. The mistake of the supplier will be rectified in the creditor's reconciliation statement. So there is a shortage of 121. If you say 242 minus 121, you'll see that is 121. There is a shortage of 121 in the statement of account. So we must go to the credit side of the statement of account and record 121. Okay, we must, the mistake that the supplier made will be rectified in the creditor's reconciliation statement. Okay, so I will say, what can I call it? Let me check this transaction carefully. It was 24. Okay, discount allowed on receipt 1112 under cost. Discount allowed under cost. We had recorded 121 instead of recording 242. So there is a shortage of 121, and the discount decrease the amount we have to owe to the supplier. So it must be on the bracket side. We must put it on the bracket. I meant. Okay. So let's go to E. Invoice 619 for 1,870 on 11 April 2023 in the account of Rose Trader in the creditors ledger is in respect of stock sold to Plants Galore on credit. Okay, let's check this one. Okay, let's check this one. They are saying invoice 619 for 1,870 on 11 April 2023 in the account of Rose Trader in the creditors ledger. So if we go to the creditors ledger and we check invoice 619, we are going to find it. They are saying invoice 619 for 1,870 on 11 April 2023 in the account of Rose Traders in creditors ledger is in respect of the stock sold to the plants galore on credit. So let's go to check. Let's go to the creditors ledger and check this 1,870. Yes, this is the invoice they are talking about, 1,870, which is invoice 619, is in the creditors ledger. Now they are telling us that this invoice is for the stock sold to plants galore on credit. This invoice is for the stock sold to plants galore on credit. So the business sold on credit. And when the business sells on credit, it normally records that sale on credit in the debtor's ledger. So the debtor's ledger is the one which is affected. In this case, when the business sells, the customer will owe the business, not the business owing someone else. So this is a mistake. This 1,870 in the creditors ledger, it's a big mistake because we are increasing, okay, invoice 619, okay? Let me, invoice 619. This is a big mistake because actually we are saying we have to decrease our liability account by 1,870. We are saying we decrease what we owe to the supplier by 1,870. This is wrong. We don't have to decrease what we owe to the supplier by 1,870 because this invoice is for the sale which we have made to someone else. So we must take this 1,870 outside the creditors ledger. It does not belong here. Invoice 619 incorrectly debited. So I'm going to go to the creditors ledger and say invoice 619 incorrectly debited. I don't have enough space. So if it was incorrectly debited, we are going to remove it by putting in the credit entry. So I'm going to credit 1,870. 1,870. Okay. Okay. Let's read the information. Okay, so we go to information F. On 11 April 2023, an entry for 297 debit note was made in creditors allowance journal dealing with an allowance from Rose Trader. It has been established that this entry has been correctly made in creditors ledger. So let us look at it. An entry for 297 debit note 72 was made in creditors allowance journal with an allowance from those trader, it has been established that entry has been correctly made in creditors ledger. So let us go to check debit note 72, which is on the 11 April 2023. Yes, this debit note of 297, they are saying it's correctly recorded in the creditors ledger. So we have to check. We have to check if maybe they made a mistake in the statement. Or credit note on the 11, they say 270. You can see now. You can see now in the statement on the 11th, they recorded credit note of 270. Okay. And in the creditors ledger on the 11th, we recorded debit note of 297. Okay. Let me talk about the debit note and the credit note. What is a debit note? A debit note is the note which the business use when it returns the goods to the supplier. If we are returning the goods from the person we bought the goods from, yeah, English. If we are returning the goods from where we bought those goods, those goods must be accompanied by what we call a debit note. A debit note is a document that shows that the business returned goods to the supplier. And when we return goods to the supplier, the amount we owe to the supplier must decrease. That is why you see this 297 on the debit side, because I told you this is a liability account. Creditors ledger, it's a liability account. When we see entry on the debit side, it means we are decreasing the amount we owe to the supplier by 297. And this was correctly recorded. The mistake was made by the supplier. The supplier recorded the amount of 270 instead of writing 297. The supplier says it's a credit note. Yes, to the supplier, it is a credit note because the supplier will use this credit note to indicate that there is a client who returned goods to their business. So every time when a customer returned goods to a business, that business will use a credit note to say we have seen that the client brought the goods back and we must decrease what the client owes us. So yes, they are recording this 270 on the credit side. They are recording on the correct side, but the figure, they are using a wrong figure. Remember, the figure must be 297. So 297, they only recorded 270, which means there is a shortage of 27. There is a shortage of 27. So we must go rectify this mistake. There is a shortage of 27. We have to rectify the mistake which has been made on the statement, on the creditor's reconciliation statement. When we rectify the mistake which is appearing on the statement of account, we rectify that mistake by recording on the creditor's reconciliation statement. So we have to record 27 rand. Okay, so on the okay, 27 rand. We must decrease further the amount we owe to the supplier by 27 rand because they decreased to only 270. So we must decrease 27. I'm writing and this pen, what's happening? Yes, it's 27. And what is it? What is it for? It was Let me check. It was F. Uh-huh. On the 11 in this statement. So this is a credit note undercasted. Credit note 143, which has been undercast. It was an undercast of credit note. I think it's 143. Okay, now let's go to adjustment G. An error was made when posting the entry on the 15th April from the creditor's journal to the account of Rose Trader. The amount is correct on the statement received. So remember, guys, we compare the statement with the creditor's ledger and we try to understand who made the mistake. So here on this transaction, they are saying an error was made when posting the entry on the 15th April from the creditor's journal to the account of Rose Trader. The amount is correct on the statement received. An error was made when posting the entry on 15 April. So let me check the entries which are taking place on the 15th. On 15, on the statement, this is the statement. On the statement, there is an invoice 342, which shows 5,720 on the statement. Let me go to creditors ledger. On the 15th, there is an invoice 342, which shows 5,200. So let me do this. If you check the 15th date, you see that in the creditors ledger, we recorded 5,200. But in the statement, the supplier recorded 5,720. So there is surely someone made a mistake here. So we have to check who made the mistake. 5,200 is recorded in creditors ledger. 5,720 is recorded by the supplier in the statement. Okay, so who made the mistake? They are saying in the creditors ledger, it was posted incorrectly. We can go and read again. An error was made when posting the entry on the 15th April from the creditors journal to the account of Rose Trader. So we made a mistake when we were posting in the account of Rose Traders. We made a mistake when we were preparing our creditors ledger. We recorded 5,200 instead of recording 5,720. So I have to check what is missing, how much is missing. You take 5,720, you subtract 5,200. I think you are going to get 520. So there is a missing amount of 520 in the creditors ledger. Remember, this 5,200 was recorded on the credit side. So we are missing 520 on the credit side. We were supposed to record 5,720 on the credit side, but we only recorded 5,200. So I'm going to put 520 in the creditors ledger. That was invoice 342. In creditors ledger, invoice 342, it was undercast. So how much? I said 520 is missing on the credit side. Okay, so let's continue. That was GH. Invoice 347 on 19 April 2023 on the statement from Rose Trader was in respect of another customer. Invoice 347 on 19 April 2023 on the statement. So they are saying what they are talking about is on the statement. Invoice 347, and they also gave us the date. So I'm going to check the 19th and check 347, and they are saying this invoice was recorded by mistake on the statement because it was in respect of another customer. So they charged our business a certain amount instead of charging a certain customer. So this is a mistake. So let's go to the invoice 347 on the 19th, yes, invoice 347. So the supplier charged us 2,310, but this was incorrectly recorded here in the statement. It was not, it was for a different customer. It was not for us. So I'm going to go to the debit side, invoice 347, 2310. I'm going to go to the invoice 3, is it invoice 327 or 42? Let me check. You write it is invoice 347. Invoice 347. Invoice 347. Incorrectly credited. This invoice was credited by mistake, so it must be, actually it was incorrectly debited. Let me check. Invoice 347. In the statement, it was debited, obvious. So this is invoice 347, incorrectly debited. It was not supposed to be there. So we are going to decrease the amount we owe by 2,310. The supplier must decrease the amount we owe by 2,310 because those goods were sold to a different customer, not our business. What's happening? I write this and it is raise itself. Why? 2,310. That's better. Okay, so now I go to invoice 2301 for 4,400 on 26 April in the account of Rose Trader in Creditors Ledger was erroneously posted to this account instead of to the account of Bank Trader. So invoice 2301 for 4,400 on the 26th April in the account of Rose Trader in Creditors Ledger was erroneously posted. So if we go to Creditors Ledger, we are going to find invoice 2301. If we go to Creditors Ledger, we will find invoice 2301. Yes, it is on the 26th. They are saying this was posted to the ledger account This invoice was posted to the account by mistake, so it must not be on the credit side. It should not be on the credit side. So we are going to remove this 4,400 by putting in an entry on the debit side. So I'm going to go to the creditors ledger and put a debit entry of 4,400 to cancel out the mistake of this invoice. So this was invoice incorrectly credited. It's how much? 4,400. So we go to the creditors ledger, we say invoice incorrectly credited. You will write neatly, invoice incorrectly credited. It is 4,400, meaning we have to put a debit entry. 4,400. Okay. Now J, they say the sale of 10,001 reflected on the 29 April 2023 in the statement from Rose Trader was definitely for Sunray necessary. Or they are saying there is no mistake. The sale of 10,001 reflected on 29 April 2023 in the statement was definitely for Sunray necessary. So if we go to the statement, we find this 10,001. So they are saying there is no mistake here. This entry, it is for the sundry necessary. So they are saying actually it must appear also in the creditor's ledger, but it's not appearing. So we have to go and record it in the creditor's ledger. We're going to, once an entry is on the debit side of the statement, it means it has to be on the credit side of the creditor's ledger. So invoice 351. So we go to the creditors ledger. Creditors ledger, we record invoice 351. We say this was not recorded. The invoice was not recorded. It was on the debit side. It has to be on the credit side when we come to the creditors ledger. Okay, a posting error occurred in the books of the business. For the discount EFT 1067 on the 30th, which still has to be corrected. And a posting error occurred in the books of the business. It means that an error occurred in the creditor's ledger. In the books of the business, for the discount EFT 1067 on 30th, which still has to be corrected. So let's go and check the creditor's ledger and check the payment of the 30th. Okay, we paid 4,050, and remember that for every payment that we make, we get a discount of 10%. So let's check 4,050 times 10 over 100. Yes, it's 405. So the calculation of the discount is correct. But the discount in the creditor's ledger in this case, it has been recorded on the wrong side. I told you that the creditor's ledger, it's a liability account. This is a liability account. It tells us how much we owe to the supplier. So if we are getting a discount, the discount is responsible for decreasing the amount we owe to the supplier. So they incorrectly recorded the discount on the wrong side. The calculation is right, it's 405, but they recorded the discount on the credit side instead of putting the discount on the debit side of creditor's ledger. So I'm going to go to the creditor's ledger. I'm going to go to the, okay, discount incorrectly debit, discount creditors ledger. I'm going to say discount incorrectly. It was incorrectly credited. So if if you record something on the wrong side, instead of recording it on the debit side, this is what they have done. They recorded 405 on the credit side of creditors ledger. They were supposed to record it on the debit side. So if you make a mistake of recording something on the wrong side, you are going to multiply by 2. So you're going to say 405 times 2, which will give you 810. So there is an 810. We put it on the debit side because the discount must decrease the amount we owe to the supplier. So that amount 405 was supposed to be debited, but they mistakenly credited. So you multiply it by 2, you put on the debit side. Finally, we are dealing with a last transaction. Certain entries do not appear on the statement as the statement was sent on 27 April 2023, while the creditors ledger continues till 30 April 2023. So they are saying some entries are not found on the statement. So let us go and check the, but I see the last date of the statement is 29. What are they saying? Certain entries do not appear on the statement as the statement was sent on 27 April 2023, while the creditors ledgers continued till 30 April 2023. So let me check. EFT 1067. Oh, they are saying actually this entries 4050 and 405, they do not appear on the statement because this, if you look, this transaction is taking place on the 30. It does not appear on the statement because the statement was sent, they are saying on the 27th, but I see the last date here being the 29th. So if the statement was sent on the 29th, there is no way you are going to see at the transaction of the 30th. So we have to put this transaction on the creditor's reconciliation statement. So it was debited, 4,050 was debited. Obviously, it needs to be credited on the statement. So when we go to the statement, we are going to credit 4,050. 4,050. And when you credit, it's more like you are decreasing. From the supplier's point of view, you are decreasing what the business owes you. Okay. And another one was 405. 405. This were the outstanding. You can say outstanding EFT 1067 and outstanding discount EFT 1067. Okay. So from here, guys, let me erase. From here, now we are done. It's a matter of calculating our balance. What you do, you are going to take 3266 because this is the creditor's ledger. Creditor's ledger decrease on the debit side. So you subtract entries that are on the debit, you add entries that are on the credit. You're going to find the closing balance here. Or what you can do, you can say 3266 minus 600, you write the balance. That balance, you subtract 83, you write the balance. The last balance, you add. When you see entry on a credit, you add. You add 1,870, you write a new balance. You add, I think it's 520, you write a new balance. You subtract 4,400, you write a new balance. You add 1,000, you write and you balance till you arrive here at the last balance. So what you get here, if you get 80 rand here, for example, I'm just saying, if you get 80 rand here, even here, the closing balance must be 80 rand. So when you take 16,727 and you subtract this amount here, you subtract 27, you add 2,310, you subtract 2,310, you subtract 4050, you subtract 405. If you got 80 there, even here you must get 80. Then we know that the creditors reconciliation statement will be balancing with the creditors ledger. Guys, I will see you next time. Thank you for visiting Academic World by Mpatele TL.